Hi everyone, I hope this video finds you really well today, and I want to share something with you that just came up to me a few days ago, which is quite curious. I haven't had this insight before, but I already shared how this has to do with Puppy and with Sammy and their impact in my life, and how they could mirror to me what was going on in my reality. And of course, some things I would just be aware of them later on, like a few years on, a few years down the road. But it's so curious and so clear. I shared with you before about Puppy, how his physical body, his conditions were showing me how it was related to stress, how some conditions in my health, in my body, was showing me how I was living under a lot of stress and how that stress was impacting my well-being, and my body was sending me signs of it, and Puppy as well. So I started seeing how after a few years, I could look back and see exactly the relationship between my stress and the signs that my body was showing me, and at the same time, how these conditions in Puppy's body was also related to stress, and when the stress decreased, his conditions decreased as well. So, and almost disappeared. So I shared this before about how much Puppy was such a big character in my life, and how much he changed my life and transformed my life in so many ways, and how I was able to look back and see this relationship. And in since I moved back from Australia, and I was more aware of these things and more connected, more present to these things, I was able to see these connections, how when I would get a bit more stressed or feel under pressure, these would impact his conditions and his body reacting to that level of stress. And I started seeing so clearly these connections and be aware of, when I would notice a little shift in myself, and I could already start to see how his behavior was already showing that he was getting into that a bit more stressful mode. And it was really slightly different things, like little signs that we see, that when we start being with them more present and for many years, we can notice exactly what those signs are showing us and what usually happens next. So I was able to see, okay, I'm already going into this more stressful mode, and it's impacting already his behavior. So instead of letting it go further, I would try as much to go back to center and recenter myself and pace myself to move more calmly, with more presence, and get out of that stressed, more pressure mode. So, because I knew that would impact my health and his health and our well-being in general. Now, something curious that came to me, it got really clear for me, this relationship between my stress and how, even if I didn't think I was stressed, because it was something I was so used to feel for so many years in my life, that just when my body would show me signs, or Puppy, right? Because then I could see how much sometimes I would take longer to listen to my body. So it's like the outside Puppy was already showing me before I could listen to my body. So this was really a process of me seeing what he was showing me, so I could connect deeper into my body, so I could see the signs before it would happen to him. Because of course, we kind of feel guilty at times. We may feel guilty at times about like, oh my God, this is happening to him because I'm not able to manage my stress levels. And we can go into this mode of like being harsh with ourselves. This is not the point. Like, it's part of the process somehow, but we need to be at peace with it and make peace with it, because we chose each other, and our souls chose each other, and to be in this life together, to really contribute to each other. And each one of us has its own role in each other's lives, like the people, the animals, the beings that come into our lives. And it's a matter of making peace with it. We are not perfect. We are here on a whole journey that tests us, that teaches a lot of things, that really brings us to the present moment with a lot of teachings, and sometimes the hard way, and to make peace with it, really. So Puppy had this massive role in my life where he was showing me so clearly when I was going out of my way somehow, like out of my body, and I would be starting to stress or getting anxious about something, and the energy would show, and his energy would show as well. So it was like a mirror to me, so I can balance things out and come a bit more to my body and really learn and train myself in a way to listen to my body, to be more aware of the signs and the little nudges that my body was telling me, the emotions, how I was feeling. And because when we are so used to living a certain kind of rush and kind of energy, it's so easy to go there and not even notice, because it's our routine. It's like our main habit, and we are just so used to it. It's like almost part of us, right? We learned it and it became part of us somehow. So they really have this role of bringing us back to the present moment, to be aware of the little signs and nudges and shifts that occur in our bodies, in our energies, and how it impacts everything around us. And it's incredible, and has been incredible in many, many ways. Now, I talked about this before about Puppy, right? And it's so interesting because I know how when Sammy came along, I could see and sense how he was bringing this sense of joy and more like expansiveness, and taking things less seriously, and just bringing a bit more flow and a bit more playfulness and joyfulness into my life, and like to really connect to my inner child. So Puppy had that first role of bringing me back to that, right, to my childhood dreams, taking me away from this life that was causing me just stress, and not having me connected to my heart, to what I truly wanted. And then Sammy came to bring even more joy to it. Like, in a sense, Puppy took me out of one path and led me to another, where I started working with dogs, right? But again, like the energy that I was bringing, of course, it was much more peaceful and a bit more joyful, right? Like, not so stressful, but at the same time, the pressure that I was used to feel during all these years, and that habit of move, 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 go, 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 of being always in a constant energy of wanting to make things happen, and just being so used to be at 200%, that as much as I was trying to do it differently and not live in the same way anymore, like, the truth is, it was so easy to go back to that over and over. I would need to catch myself because I was going there over and over again and again. You've probably heard about like this masculine and the feminine energies and all that. And what I want to say here is that I can totally see how I was living in a more like masculine energy all the way in most of my life, and especially the years that since I started working. And I wasn't used to relax and be anymore. Like, I didn't know how to stop and really surrender. I didn't know what surrender was. So when I started the work with the dogs and all of that, of course, it was much more me and I was more in my feminine energy. But when the time came to make it a business kind of thing, like when we start putting pressure on ourselves to make things work and to reach certain goals in our lives, and we start going to the same habits that we had before. So what I knew working in business before was to move in a certain way. So I was trying to bring that to my work with the dogs somehow, but it wasn't really like it. I couldn't make it fit. And at the same time, when I learned about dog training and dog behavior, there's so much to it. But in the beginning, it was really like technical. And this is a more like a masculine approach, right? The structure, the techniques, all of that. And what I had to bring, and also what I feel Sammy brought a lot, was okay, you already have the structure, you already have the knowledge, the knowing. Now let's get more into the playing, like into having more fun, into enjoying ourselves more, into really breaking down some walls that sometimes like we create these habits, these routines that are so important, but at the same time, we sometimes, when we don't really trust ourselves or when we are guarded, we are afraid of making mistakes, we put some walls up and we create sometimes too many boundaries, which are not really boundaries. Boundaries are important. We create walls that are not really necessary. Boundaries and habits and clear routines are important, but it can come from a place of peace and love and not being so rigid about it, but truly seeing how it works for both parts and to make sure it feels good. And what I noticed, like for so many years, I was in this kind of mode of being afraid of letting the knowledge somehow go. Not that I was gonna lose it, I had it with me, but now I wanted to embrace this flow more, this trust more, this intuition more. But I was so afraid of doing it because I was afraid I would mess things up because I was so used to work and to be more connected to this masculine energy, to the structure, to these certain ways of doing things. And I was not so connected to trusting myself and trusting my intuition. And that's what I already talked about, of like how going to New Zealand to meet this worldwide known dog trainer, dog behaviorist, Mark Vitti, was so important. And even more than learning with him and from him was to really see how much I had to trust my intuition. That was the key message that I brought from that trip. And along with that, what I can see now is how much doing that he was actually bringing me even deeper into myself, Sammy. So he was bringing this more joyful side that is my inner side, my innocence, my childlike innocence that I have, and it's part of my chart in human design as well. It's something that is really natural, but I was somehow, sometimes I would just question, not knowing I was doing it, but I wouldn't really allow myself to be that because I was afraid I was not going to be taken seriously and not in a professional way. And with this, what came to me a few days ago was this awareness of, it was so curious. It never came to me before, but Sammy came to my life in May of 2018. And later that year, just 1 week after my birthday, I twisted my foot really, really bad. I messed it up big time. Like I couldn't walk for 2 months. And I never really had anything like that happening to me. Like when I was a kid, I would twist my foot a lot, but like, I was so used to it. It was not, I never had anything really bad happening. Like it was just twisting, but I was good. The next second I was good. Like it wasn't those kind of twists that really hurt you. Like, oh, I twisted my foot, but I was fine. So maybe that had impact along the years because I would do that a lot actually when I was a kid. But it never really did anything, at least that I was conscious about, because it didn't really hurt. I wasn't really injured or anything. So, first time that this happened was after Sammy arrived into my life. And I shared, like, I was working on the brand and creating Woe Puppies, and I was starting to put a bit of, like, again, pressure on myself to make things perfect and to make things happen. And I wasn't really sure how to do it. So, yeah, all of that. And this happened with my foot. I had to, like, really just slow down and receive help from my parents. I already shared this as well before. And now, a few months ago, right, in my trip to Thailand, I had the same happening in the other foot. So maybe like to balance it out, something like that. But it's so curious because, never really happened to me before. And I already shared this, like how much this for me was a clear sign for me to trust my intuition. And again, a lot of months recovering. It came to me how, since Sammy was quite young, he once, well, more than once already, but he hurt his paw because he jumped so much, such like a jumpy dog. We call it a goat because he just jumps and climbs and is really agile. And yeah, one time or like 2 times he hurt himself a little bit more, and because of like jumping and coming down from that jump. And I never really thought about this, but now like he's good, but sometimes I can see if we exercise a bit more than normal, like, or something happens and he jumps and he gives like a big jump or something, like sometimes he comes like to me asking for cuddles in that leg. Like I can see that he's a bit uncomfortable and maybe like hurts a little bit, like has some pain. But then he goes away, like I give him a massage and he goes away and he's fine. Like it barely happens, but it just came to me that how much like puppy had that thing with my like levels of stress, because I was actually living in a lot of stress, under a lot of stress all the time. And so he was like bringing me to the present moment and taking me out of that lifestyle. And now Sammy is like showing me through the legs and the foot, what happened to me when he arrived into my life a few months after, and now like 6 months ago. It's like for me to not want to rush things, to take things a bit more slowly. Again, the same message of take like firm steps, but don't rush the process. Take firm steps, but don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I want to connect this with the last videos, to the last videos that I did, because what happens is like our chakras, right? They align from the top to the bottom. And our two ones, the bottom ones are the sacral that I talked about. That for a manifestor, like, is one that gets really conditioned because it's opened, and when it's opened, we kind of amplify the energy that other people give in that kind of center, and it's not ours, but we overdo and we over explore that kind of energy, and we don't know how to stop. And for me, additionally to the sacral center, I also have the root center undefined. And what that means is that I don't really like naturally work under pressure. So I shouldn't really work under pressure. So I have a different kind of, like, I have many energy centers to work with, not that one, like, not to work from pressure, not to put pressure on myself, but to really flow with my ideas, to flow with my own energy that I have defined in my chart. That the truth is quite complex, as I was told by the human design reader that read my chart like the first time. And I think it's not that usual, at least she told me that we have 9 centers and I have 7 centers defined. Again, I don't want to be like judging it, it's not good or bad, but that's what she told me, that it's not so usual to see so many centers defined. I already researched a little bit, and it's possible, of course, there are people with this kind of situation happening, but it's not that common. So the only centers that I have undefined and open are the lower ones, so the sacral and the root. And again, with all the things that happened and that I'm still like healing from in my womb area, and how that connects us to the earth. And again, the root center, right, is the lower one that connects us to the earth. So how does it connect us to the earth? Through our legs and feet, right? So this really blew my mind because it makes so much sense. And it really is like, when I'm putting pressure on myself, and this happened in Thailand, this happened 7 years ago. Yeah, 7 years ago almost, when that happened in 2018 with the other foot. I was putting pressure on myself to do certain things, and this happened. So again, it really shows how it's so important to live in alignment with our own energy, to trust our intuition, because it doesn't have to make sense for anyone else but us. Because our body knows, our body has the knowledge, our body has the wisdom of what's aligned, what's true for us, and what's truly good for us in the long term right now. And for me as a manifester, and with all these centers like that I talked about, undefined, these 2 centers undefined, what it shows is that I have my own pace that I have to trust and follow. When my body feels inspired to do something, the energy will be there for me to do something and will pull me into doing it. When the energy is not there, it's like, don't push yourself to do it. Just don't put pressure on yourself to do it, because your body is gonna feel it, and it's not gonna be beneficial. And of course, when we override our body, what happens is, sooner or later, our bodies are gonna tell us to stop, or are gonna force us to stop if we don't listen in time. So the message that I can take from here is really to, when you don't have that root center defined, is like, take one step at a time, a firm step, but don't rush the process. Don't rush yourself. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, and just feel into what your body is telling you. Again, don't override your intuition. Your intuition is basically the signs your body uses to show you what's aligned or not aligned for you, and what's aligned for someone else is not aligned for you. And that's totally okay. It's how this works. And we all have our own paths, our own unique design, and that's how we are meant to live according to that. So I hope this inspires you to, most than anything, just really listen to your body, listen to your intuition, see how these patterns that I was telling you about, these signs, these messages, the things that our bodies and our animals, our environment is showing us about ourselves and about what is aligned and not aligned for us. And yeah, if you are curious, just dive deeper into your human design as well. It has been really curious anyway for me to make these associations and to see how much it makes so much sense. All of it, like all my life process and my life journey, and how my body has been guiding me and speaking to me. Sometimes we don't get the message right away, but when we start doing this work, we get the messages faster, and we don't need to wait like years to look back and realize what our bodies were telling us. So yeah, I wanted to share this, like our dogs, like I'm looking at Sammy, Sammy's laying down here, how much they show us, like they are so sensitive. They are really showing us what's going on so we can be more present and listen deeply and just connect to ourselves in a deeper way, connect to who we truly are, to our inner child, to our hearts, what we desire, what is like our soul's path in this life, the things that really call us, the things that we really want to do in this lifetime, and to do it at our own pace, in our own way, that's aligned, because that's the way we are meant to do it anyway. We are unique, every single one of us, and each one of us has its own way of going about it and doing it. So yeah, it's a journey, and it can be challenging, really challenging at times. It can also be really amazing when we allow ourselves to open up to it and really flow with it and surrender more, to connect more with that feminine part of us that asks us to rest, to dive more into self care, to listen to our bodies, to stop and really tune in and see how our bodies are speaking to us and what we need to live more balanced, more happy, more fulfilled lives. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed and had fun with this as well. I hope you can have fun taking these ideas and these curiosities into your life as well. And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Sending lots of love.